really helps with that. He brings that root. He brings that extra CC that, you know, he's going to be able to match up versus that Mouth. I like the pick.
I like the pick as well. I think it's strong. So we kind of see a swap up. Like you said, it's about hitting the front line here. But I think you have to give the edge to Buffalo because they've drafted so much macro. They have so much wave clear. Gul'dan, Blaze, Johanna, those heroes crush waves. They're going to dominate control of the map. And I think that early game advantage is really going to help them make it to that late game. And without Cal Poly Pomona being able to throw those double Genji curveballs, I don't see how they're busting that front line.
They have the macro, they have the wave clear. Game number 2 is ready. The new spicy support in Verum, the source. You guys ready to see this Deckard Cain in action?
I'm ready to stay a while and listen. I'm ready to get into this game, guys. Let's get going. Enough talk. We've done the talking. Let's get into game number 2. Source, I know you're excited.
I'm gonna get another Planet Cracker Entomb. I'm calling it right now. Question is whether or not Deckard will bring the pain.
Well, can the Deckard Cain bring the pain? Let's find out here. Source, let's get us going.
All right, over on the side of the Buffalo, flexing that Deckard Cain. It's gonna be Fanta Fiction. It's going to be Vader on the Johanna, Seth Lordson on his Gul'dan, Markibots on the Blaze, and Matsubo back on the Hanzo.
And over on the other side in the red, it is going to be Cal Poly Pomona, the Pomona Ponies. Looking to get another win here in game number 2 as Artificious is on Malfurion, and Cazador is on Leoric, Josh on Garrosh, Pally on Phoenix, and Laldotus Sotus playing Junkrat. Josh Garrosh, I mean, that has to mean something positive.
That's poetry, man. But I'm excited. I get 2 interesting strategies here. 1, we get to see a little bit of how Deckard Cain plays at a competitive level. 2, I'm telling you, if I don't get my Entomb Planet Cracker, Cal Poly Pomona gave it to me once, give it to me again. Give me that opportunity for greatness.
All teams need to bring out these opportunities for greatness here, and they need to capitalize on the overextensions of their opponents, the mistakes they may make. And if somebody puts one toe out of line, be aware that we are probably going to find that combo coming out here. If they can execute on that, that is going to be scary for the side of Buffalo. But of course, both these teams have pretty decent wave clear going into this as well. I'm really looking towards that Gul'dan, really looking towards the Phoenix as well. Because of course, when it comes to aggression, Phoenix does a pretty good job of shutting that down, assuming he can actually do that damage.
I'm curious to see how Phoenix will interact with Deckard Cain in just how much slow comes out of the cube and the scroll. Like those, the combo of just how much he gains as a support to just lock people down. I want to see how Pally's going to position himself, because it's going to be difficult.
It is going to be difficult indeed, because Buffalo, if they can find that initiation there, if they can get the Blessed Shield, the Dragon Arrow, if they can go in with Blaze as well, that is a lot to deal with on the side of Cal Poly Pomona. Blaze is definitely going to be looking to find that backline target here as well. But of course, when you have a Deckard Cain supporting you, we are not 100% sure how that's going to go. Can he support those tanks when they go in, or are they just going to try and poke down the side of Cal Poly?
I think it's less about supporting the tank in the initial moment and more about being so much of a threat, adding so much to what the tanks are already bringing crowd control-wise that you can't necessarily you can't stay there and beat the tanks down. You have to get out of there because you're about to be hit by another Roger Cube to slow you. By just imagine what it's going to look like when the heroics come in, stay a while and listen with an arrow and the Johanna and the Blade. There's so much crowd control there. I don't know how Cal Poly Pomona survives if they get caught.
Please, we are absolutely going to see Lornado. I have no idea what you're talking about as Cal Poly Pomona.
Look at that root!
I know. So both of these teams have the ability to set up huge plays. The question is which one will be able to actually execute when push comes to shove. We have both these teams rotating pretty standard here. Neither one is really looking to overstep here because, of course, we know with both these teams going so neck and neck, the first blood can mean so much here in terms of momentum.
Well, we're starting to see a rotational advantage for Buffalo. They feel pretty comfortable with the way that they're rotating. Vader has been cutting off rotations as well as being able to get the value on the Johanna clear. Josh hasn't been able to find an opportunity to flip Vader in a place where he feels comfortable that he's not going to get locked down by the counter crowd control coming up for Deckard Cain. And I think that's what's interesting is Josh hasn't flipped anybody.
He flipped Vader once, maybe, but yeah.
But like, it hasn't felt like a Garrosh who's like, yeah, I'm gonna flip you over the shoulder. Every time you give me an opportunity, I'm gonna burn that iron skin. That's just not how Josh has been playing so far. And it feels like Buffalo is really practiced this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Buffalo really feels comfortable here, having that solid front line, trusting Vader to be the one to go forward here and be that front line for his squad. And I agree, it definitely feels like this Garrosh is being played a little bit more safely than how we necessarily saw it played, let's say, earlier even today. Seeing how, we know when that Garrosh goes off, steps forwards, and constantly getting those picks, constantly getting those kills, that's the Garrosh that we want to see.
Okay, I'm starting to see Fan of Fiction land 3-man roots. I'm gonna want to look at the stat later on, like what's his root rate? Like what is the rate on which he is landing more than one person roots? Because it's always just catching them on the edge of it, but that's gonna start to take serious chunks of health out of the members of Cal Poly Pomona. El Cazador takes a little bit of damage, but he's Leoric. It's what he does.
I mean, a big root coming in, that's really all the setup that a Gul'dan and a Hanzo need. Let them lay down, like in this case, the green carpet of Seth Lordson and deal all that damage towards the side of CPP, especially as these Web Weavers fall. Another thing that Cal Poly Pomona has to deal with, maybe not necessarily watching to what Phantom Friction is bringing to the table.
I'm gonna have to ask Gilly about all those talents. She knows all the names of all the talents. I have a rough idea what all of them do, but no one knows it like them, and no one seems to know it like Fan of Fiction, who's setting up opportunity after opportunity to just shut down Josh's aggression.
Oh yeah, Josh, every single time he tries to step forward, he is finding himself under the weight of so much damage from Buffalo. The poke coming out here so far has been super impressive, and I'm not really feeling like Cal Poly has been able to respond. Look at the health bars from the side of Buffalo. This Deckard Cain has been doing such a fantastic job, a Fiction tap. No, that didn't quite work. Job
on your life.
All healthy and solid here. We are seeing the power of this solo heal Deckard.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is how well it's comboing with the Gul'dan in terms of just creating a no-go zone. Because it's already dangerous to step up to a Johanna. You have to be wary of her engagement range. But then there's also all the damage that normally comes out of a Gul'dan when we think about wave clear maps. Now you throw these really massive roots on top of it, the extra slow off the Herodric Cube. That value could just be enough to the point where I don't know when Cal Poly Pomona is going to feel comfortable stepping up until we're much later in the game, and you can't really give up those types of advantages on Tomb.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we look at what Cal Poly Pomona has in their arsenal, the amount of displacement that they have. They should be able to make Buffalo step out of position, or if not, literally push them out of the way, throw them, mine them, do something to the side of Buffalo to disrupt these rotations, because right now, Cal Poly Pomona has done no such thing. They have let Vader walk up basically uncontested every single time, and they are a full level behind because of it. They need to do something now before 10 is reached.
Well, they also have to consider the fact that they've been getting wrecked in bottom lane. There hasn't been a lot of opportunity to go help out El Cazador because they've been under so much pressure. Marketbot's been having a good time down there. After that one Web Weaver wave, they've almost gotten that fort. They're almost to their heroics, and we get to see, is it Lornado, or I think it's stay a while and listen. I think the setup opportunities are there. It doesn't even need to hold for the whole channel. It's all about landing and giving a setup opportunity for someone else to land another massive crowd control, but maybe we get a Lornado.
We'll see here in game number 2. I think it's a little bit unlikely, but who knows? We may see it pulled out here from the side of Buffalo, and it is not. But oh well, we can dream as level 10 is being reached now for them, forcing back the side of Cal Poly. Now, this is an interesting turn in time. We talk a little bit about this because obviously they're not really going to get a whole lot of value off of these Web Weavers because they don't have the heroics on top of this.
It's all about stopping the bleeding and finding the team fight. They will be able to get some pressure onto the walls, but it's not going to be... Okay, Phantom Fiction just burned that stay a while and listen, so that's actually going to be on cooldown for a little while. So, opportunity, moment for Cal Poly Pomona to know that that is... Actually, I don't know if they saw it.
I'm not sure if they saw it either here. We'll see as Phantom Fiction's going to go in. Oh, that would be the target that Josh would want to find there as well. Deckard Cain in the back line, thrust amongst his foes. Not exactly where he wants to. He's an old man after all, keep that in mind. But level 10 is now going to be reached for the side of Cal Poly Pomona. They will be able to fight on an even talent tier here. And are we going to see the combo of legend, that Wombo combo, the source? I know you're looking for it.
Come on, that's part 1. I don't really think you go March of the Black King, but it's possible. He seems to be holding it for opportunity. They actually might be... Okay, there we go. So we get Yarn 2, we get our Planet Cracker. All it has to get 1 and I'm fine. I just need 1 combo and then like I'm good for the day. I've got my fill of Entomb Planet Cracker combos. But now we have to start to think about how some of these things are going to interact. Stay a while and listen is going to be back up because there's been such a delay. So we will get to see that going into the next major team fight. There's going to be Bunker bunkers, like a get out of jail free card. You've got a disengage plus engage off the shield. There's a lot of opportunities for some interesting counterplay from Buffalo to the point where I think that their setups aren't as interesting as how they're going to get themselves out of trouble unless you lose Phantom Fiction. No!
Stepping too far forward and getting caught because of it. That was exactly what they needed to do. The bunker is going in as well. Josh doing a great job healing for the team, and it is going to be the Tranquility keeping the team alive here. Artificious doing a great job capitalizing on a misstep there and just shutting down the aggression from Buffalo. That was exactly what they needed to do. And I was going to go on this whole spiel about how Buffalo may be able to capitalize on the positioning of Cal Poly. And then we see Cal Poly do that. They have shown that they are still in this. That is actually our first blood at 9 minutes into the game. There you go.
I mean, it had to happen at some point, but still a positional advantage for Buffalo. They're going to get that bottom port. That is done and dusted. No one's even bothering, and that's a lot of pressure being put onto Josh. El Cazador is going to show up, gets done out by Markybot. Here comes in an interesting flank. Artificious is there, but they're staying a while, and they're listening.
That is the Entomb. That is the Planet Cracker. That is Hanzo going to fall Malfurion and trading out those. El Cazador is moving up, but it is now Paoli on the flank, so a 1-for-1 trade as the fort does drop Buffalo. The Web Weaver's still pushing in. Nicely done. Both of these teams finding blood in that fight. They are looking scrappy.
That was a little bit of a wild engage, just the way that I thought Artificious was going to get further towards his team and be able to help them a little bit more, but kind of got cut off. The angle of the Entomb I don't think was what they wanted, so both teams really need to just kind of tighten it up for the next team fight, but a couple of, I think that on its own was just that looked like a nerves play. Like, we need to find something because of how weird this has all been set up, but no one was really ready to, fight.
Vader definitely felt a little bit flustered on that engage. Looked like he was trying to force it just a little bit much with that Blessed Shield going in here as well, but this may actually be the time. The whole team is in position this time around. Josh is now in full retreat. Great peels from Artificials. The root is there as well to deny that. Shut it down. Level 13 is about to be reached here for the side of Cal Poly, picking up the Bruiser Camp here as well. In Tangent with a set of Web Weavers. This is what they need to get back into this game.
We do have an Echo Corruption finish, so they actually find the right setup, and Gul'dan is going to start to really get in that damage. The Stay a While and Listen came at an angle where it was really only stopping Artificious from doing a whole lot. They want to get that onto the Junkrat and the Phoenix for the most part. And it's actually a pretty squishy team from the side of Cal Poly Pomona. The Orc really isn't that tanky until he gets much later into the game. So if you find pretty much any target that isn't the Garrosh, I really think that that Buffalo can just hard engage on some of these plays. And they've already popped that Tranquility, and here comes the setup.
That chain CC is there, but it's a great whip turn in the backline, forcing them out. The Planet Cracker, nice disengage from Cal Poly Pomona. That looked like it could have been disastrous there from them. As Vader and Matzo Balls and crew are very low in terms of health. Josh, they need to be careful here. The Deckard Cain trying to heal them back up with these potions of Paoli. Look how keep that damage up good and proper, but Vader's walking through. The Iron Skin is being popped, having that disengage there as well. So a good job from them not to overstep. Moves and counter moves. Both these teams finding moments of brilliance.
It also... the way they're disengaging is what's most impressive, but the start of the fights still feel rushed. I want to see a little bit slower play from Buffalo to find the right angle, because both teams have got impressive counter engages, but I think they're capitalizing more on what is an improper engage from the other team. So I want to see both teams calm down a bit, because I feel like we've kicked up the pace a little bit, and everybody's getting a little hyphy, and it's just just chill and find your opportunity, because one good Blessed Shield arrow combo and Buffalo has it. One good Entomb doesn't even need the Planet Cracker, and Cal Poly Pomona has it.
Both these teams have the potential to take the fight that will put them so far ahead in this game that it might be impossible for the other side to come back, but they need to make it happen. And as we've seen, when you try and force it, it doesn't really go your way here. So both of these teams, again, take a deep breath, reset. Of course, they're up here on this stage playing for their college tuition. There is so much on the line for these teams. As we do see El Cazador trying to bait out an initiation from Buffalo, not going to find it though, but now Cal Poly Pomona might look to re-engage, but the arrow does not connect.
Goes wide, field goal, right through the posts. It's also interesting to note how many turn-ins we've had. This has been a lot of really quick back-to-back turn-ins, neither team really slowing things down enough to set up a defense and really be able to goaltend. And because of that, it's gonna be interesting as we get later in the game, where you're gonna need those 60-70 gems. It's gonna be much, much harder to find. We also haven't seen anybody lean towards the boss. There hasn't been a lot of play towards that bottom camp, or either of the siege camps for that matter, or the bruiser camps. They've been picked up, but it hasn't. We've kind of thrown the macro playbook out the window, and it's like, who can find a fight? And I love it.
Both these teams know that if they can take that big fight again, they're going to be in such a solid position here in this game because it has been so close. Level 16 is here for Buffalo. That will give them a slight advantage, but with these keep towers, Cal Poly want to look to reverse that. But whoa, look at the damage on a Seth Lordson. That's what happens when you mess with a Junkrat as they're pushing in now into the top lane, prioritizing, of course, this boss lane here. They need to start to get some additional damage, though, onto these towers. They need to get level 16 because the Buffalo takes this fight. They're going to look to go in, initiate here. This is Leoric now in full retreat. The Wraithwalk trying to get himself out of there, but no! And that is the arrow to follow up there as well. To stay a while, and this is putting the team in a good position. The Riptide's going to come in and try to split the fight as well, but Josh now in full retreat. Can they get the seal? No! He's going to be able to get out. That the Unstoppable is there, but that is the execution from Buffalo.
Took a long time, but Buffalo find the opportunity before Cal Poly Pomona can hit 16. I didn't think that they were going to be able to get there in time, and I'm impressed that Buffalo understood how to slow chain that CC without fully hard engaging everything that they had. They waited, they used to stay a while and listen, and all it was supposed to do was slow them down a little bit, give them an opportunity to be able to find another kill, and now they're going to be able to pick up this boss. I really don't think El Cazador can make this happen, although he's throwing the Entomb. Since Lordson isn't there, there isn't damage. Maybe they find Vader.
Maybe they find Vader, but the bunker is there, nicely done, and it is going to be the boss going the way of Buffalo. That was exactly what they needed to do, trying to force out the Gul'dan and the Entomb to split the fight, but it was not enough here, but Garrosh has respawned, but it is Buffalo pushing in here onto this top lane. They do have enough gems to turn in once more. They're going to try and combo this with the Web Weaver turn in. Braun, this is exactly what they need to do.
It's a good opportunity for them to be able to find a snap engagement as the arrow's back up. Stay a while and listen is there. You can use that over the wall. Okay, boss is going to take the wall out, so that's not even an option. Vader steps forward, but uses the Unstoppable. The root is just insane.
That root is huge. They're going in. Josh trying to pull the team back, but walking into the boss gun though. Stay a while and listen though. Not going to be enough as the Planet Cracker is there, but it's actually the big Junkrat ultimate going in, but is El Cazador trying to find the kill there, forcing back Johanna. Marky Bots is deep in the back.
Oh, he's still alive!
Him down! Perfect heroic timing from Cal Poly Pomona, splitting this up beautifully here, and it is now Blaze Out on an island. As you would say, he is where?
In Narnia. So the bunker boy gets left alone, takes a journey through the closet, comes back, and finds himself the entire enemy team, and they actually don't even get the key. So that is super significant for how this played out. And what was so cool for me about the way this Planet Cracker was used is the moment Fantafiction stopped, it's not about killing it, it's literally stop the channel and give us an opportunity to re-engage the fight.
It really just came down to this Riptire. Look at the damage it did to the backline, and a beautiful Entomb to split the fight here as well. El Cazador being that frontliner for his team, walking forward. And if he dies, it's just trait value. Easy.
Yeah, no, it's totally worth it. And the Entombs are starting to come in at better angles to either find an individual pickoff or at least force responses from Buffalo. So you continue to do that, and yeah, I want to see my massive Planet Cracker and Entomb combo. It would be cool, but they're using their heroics in the right ways to at least find the proper utility for the situation. We still haven't seen a massive full combo from Buffalo. We still haven't seen Cal Poly Pomona find the picks that they're looking for. They're going to be able to do another turn-in, but like we're at the 60-65 turn-in. This is going to start to slow down, and what has already been an absolute slugfest is going to continue on that track.
It is going to be that indeed. Enough gems to turn in on the side of Buffalo. Now they're going to look to do that, but Josh is stepping forward. But look at the peel coming in, and is actually the stub.
Ooh, the turnaround.
But the Horrify forcing Malfurion back to the Tranquility, not where it needs to be. Now El Cazador stepping so forward. The team is isolating him, identifying him as a target. The Blessed Shield does not connect from Vader, but it is El Cazador still going to fall. That Horrify onto Malfurion. Tranquility all the way in the back.
Yeah. Another interesting use of Stay a While and Listen, or at least a new effect we are finding, is it created another zone you cannot pass through. It made it so that the members of Cal Poly Pomona felt they had to rotate around the backside of the turn-in. They had to find a new way for them to be able to maneuver because they weren't going to just move forward and face tank that. They didn't use the Planet Cracker to open up that opportunity again and force Fantafiction to move, and they end up losing the Leoric. It doesn't turn out that badly for them, as we've seen how well they are, or how good they are at defending, but they're going to need to spread out a little bit, and now we're looking at the possible 20 range. Josh will get a little bit of fun on throwing the Johanna into his Jeep, but there isn't a whole lot they're going to be able to get, and I expect that they're going to lose at least one structure sometimes.
Yeah, they're going to look to push in here on the side of Buffalo. Cal Poly, if they survive without losing any structures, I will be very surprised. As Leoric looking to go in, just the threat of that Wraithwalk forcing back the positioning of Buffalo. The keep is getting very low, the half health down. Forcing the Pyromaniac. Alcastar stepping forward. The heals have been there, though, keeping him alive, but it is the keep who will fall, and that was everything Buffalo wanted. They got level 20 to boot.
Yeah, this is the slow roll that is Tomb of the Spider Queen, and they have a pretty good scaling comp. They now have their level 20s, and they can probably look to find a team fight, aside from just getting this keep that was basically just not going to stand for very long. There wasn't an opportunity that Cal Poly Pomona would be able to defend. They should be able to find a fight before Cal Poly Pomona hits 20, and just instantly wrap up the game from there.
That's what they're going to look to do here. They got so much out of that push, finding 2 keeps. Level 20 as well. Cal Poly very much on the back step here in this situation. They need to take a fight only when they get 20. They need to somehow safely soak this here. They need to try and disengage. They need to not fall into the trap that Buffalo is setting.
And it's a very difficult trap to avoid, even if you see it coming, because there's only so many opportunities to be able to find experience on the map. And if Buffalo sets the waves up properly, there's no way for Cal Poly Pomona to get the experience they need without at least having to face Buffalo. They at least have to go toe-to-toe with them for a few seconds. Buffalo doesn't even care. They're just going to take themselves a boss, clean that up, and use that as their opportunity to end the game.
Yeah, this is going to be their win condition here. They need to pull this off. Level 20 is so close to the side of Cal Poly Pomona, but they cannot contest this. They need to try and soak up as best they can and defend on their core. But this is a tall order here from them as the boss does fall. This is everything Buffalo needs right now. Cal Poly needs a miracle defense.
So they could go for a turn-in. They could have gone for a defensive turn-in and used that to clear out the other 2 waves, but they're going to leave Leoric in the mid. He's going to get them 20, and it's all going to be from here. How well do they... I mean, it's been difficult to see them get into the backline of Buffalo. Buffalo has sent their warriors forward, and it has been an absolute barricade. A slowly moving barricade, but a barricade nonetheless to stop them from doing anything. It's a 20-minute boss. This is a dangerous prospect for Cal Poly Pomona, and Josh is already at half health.
Josh is already at half health, but it is Vader going so far forward here. The Riptide Vader here's while the Dragon Dart fall up. They're trying to take them down now. Pyromania, but it is the Planet Cracker looking to split the fight. Vader is in so deep. He has an indestructible, though. He will try to survive underneath this. It is Malfurion who falls. Nicely done splitting the fight. Johanna drops, but the stay a while is and listen, there we go, zoning the fight as they are going to take them down. The core, though, is still under threat. The boss is wailing away. Markybots is going to look to go in. Josh is still so very
Gotta clear
close.
this boss out.
They need to clear the boss. The core is at half health and falling, and Buffalo is pushing in. And with that, it is going to be GG. Buffalo take game number 2.
Buffalo says defiantly they're not trying to go home 0-3. We're at least seeing game number 4. They rally back. They make the adjustments. They adapt, and they find success with consistent macro play and wave clear. Going for those bosses were absolutely critical to their success, and I really like the changes we're seeing out of that team.
All we talked about was the wave clear. Buffalo had all the forts down of Cal Poly Pomona, had the consistent level advantage, talent tier advantage, and they were able to just carry that forward all the way to victory.
Yeah, it was crazy. Cal Poly got 2 turn-ins and got 0 forts. It was really, really good wave clear coming out for the side of Buffalo, and really good way to divvy up their resources, right? Stopping, saving every single fort after 2 turn-ins, unheard of.
It's really difficult, actually, to do that kind of defensive measure so effectively. So that was very impressive. But both of these teams actually played a very defensive game overall. It was only 8 kills by that game-ending boss push at 20 minutes. So you can see, after that first game, Cal Poly Pomona went a little wild at first, but now maybe they both stepped back, tried to play more macro game, more solid strategy, and Buffalo took it home.
From the mental perspective, I really want to see the evolution of Cal Poly Pomona. They take a very gutsy composition game 1, Genji and Aperture. They shake things up, go for a different style of engagement. They hear the roar of the audience here cheering on Cal Poly Pomona, and they go down in game number 2. Do they stick to their guns? Do they continue to go for those unorthodox style of engagements? Udo, in this situation, you have plenty of pro experience. Do you keep going with the gutsy plays, or you do something more standard?
I mean, I think game 1, your dive composition worked, right? It answered that Gul'dan on, the side of Buffalo. I feel like you go back to that, right? Buffalo has proven that they love Gul'dan, right? You know that's basically going to come out if it's up for them. I think you get that dive. It doesn't have to necessarily be Genji Abba, right? But there are a lot of ways that you can dive, and it's proved that it works. So I'd like to see the dive comp coming out by them.
I agree. Dunk Train, we saw Buffalo make some adaptations as well. They go for the heavier front line. They go for the more sustained. Is that the style you continue to work with, or do you try to go back to your engagement?
I think their protect the backline composition works fantastically. It clearly played to their strengths. I mean, the amount of space that Johanna was getting was unbelievable. So I think Buffalo wants to keep up the 2 in the front, 2 in the back, play it safe, play it slow, utilize their macro advantage.
We'll see if they do that. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on the desk. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it was awesome. I love Heroes of the Dorm. It's sick.
I do too. We're going to pass things over to Anna Prosser Robinson, who has another special guest for us. How you doing over there, Anna?
I'm doing fantastic. This is a special guest indeed. Some friends of mine, Heroes of Fitness, are here in the audience, hearing cheers. The people love you. Now, if people might not know who you are, what is it that you guys do?
Well, we stream and we will take exercise breaks between games. We also do a lot of cooking and meal prep streams. So everything we do is geared towards a healthy lifestyle, being fit, getting in better shape while you still play games and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely, playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm as well. And you know, this is a really special event. We were just talking about how there's something special about Heroes of the Dorm. What is that something special?
Like you said earlier, it's the stories, it's the families, it's the communities of these schools coming together, and the parents, and just, you see it. You see the passion and what's on the line and the excitement. It's honestly probably one of my favorite esports tournaments of all time. It's what got me into Heroes. It just has a special place in my heart.
Me too. And I know that you guys are experiencing this as community members, people who are very active in the Heroes of the Storm community. So what's it like for people at home who may be part of that community but not here live? What's it like to be here in the audience?
Well, I have to say that this event, like Nicole was mentioning, has a lot more emotions running high. I feel like observing each team, you have some kind of drive to see all of them win, and it's exciting to see those players put their heart into the tournament.
Yeah, I know that it may be hard to pick because there are such good stories on all of these teams. Are you guys rooting on anyone in particular, would you say?
Admittedly, we are. We're rooting for Laval, allez, allez. Because, it's nice to see a Canadian team for the first time, and if they win, I feel like that'd be really special. They also place an emphasis on taking care of their bodies and working out. We got to talk to Nesdip a little bit about that, and it was pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, what are you guys going to do for the rest of the day to enjoy Heroes of the Dorm? I know you're going to be here in the audience cheering. Is there anything else that you guys are going to get up to while you're here in Burbank?
Oh, we're just going to keep having an awesome time. This has been a great, great event, and just going to keep watching, enjoying the games.
And where can people find you if they want to check out Heroes of Fitness?
Yeah, they can find us at twitch.tv/Heroes of Fitness and on Twitter, Instagram, all those places. Come check us out.
Thanks, guys. Have fun. Thank you for chatting with me. And we'll be back with more Heroes of the Dorm right after this.
of the Dorm, heroic 4. This audience is loving what we're seeing so far. In Game 1, Cal Poly Pomona's unpredictable style gives them the victory. Buffalo, Game 2, finds their footing and evens things up 1-1. My name is Lauren, joined by Gilly Weed and Dunk Train. Guys, we were talking about this potentially being a long set. It looks like that's what we're getting.
We are in for a series being 1-1. I am so pumped that it could not be another shutout. It won't be for sure. But knowing that, it feels like it could be in Cal Poly Pomona's favor just because they have already been tested in that kind of high stakes all the way to Game 5 kind of match.
I agree. I think the experience of going to Game 5 is something that's so unique. And with so much of the format being best of 3 earlier in the regular season, it's going to be a surprise to Buffalo when they have to spend a couple more games learning the strategy of their opponents and trying to adapt. So I think the longer this goes, the more it favors Cal Poly Pomona. They get more opportunities to do crazy strategies, to try and switch up their style and put Buffalo on the back foot.
I'm right there with you. Game number 3 is going to be on Volskaya Foundry, a battleground that also features a singular call to action. A lot of interesting action going on in the earlier portions of the battleground. I think this could go into Buffalo's favor, especially if they decide to go for a more aggressive composition. But we'll see. That more double front line sustain was really working for them.
Yeah, it's kind of another battleground too where you can see a lot of different strategies work for teams. So in this instance, it's hard to figure out who it would end up favoring. You know, you do see 1-4s, which we know Buffalo prefers, and having Johanna who can sit on the point for a long time also could be very beneficial for them, but it's also maybe a place where we could see the Abath or Genji come back out again.
Absolutely. There's so much space between the objectives and the forts on this map that it's very easy to get past the backline, to let them overextend and to make plays happen. Meanwhile, this is also a map that has a tendency to snowball a little less than normal and go towards the late game. So we could see one of these teams try out a late game oriented style, which we wouldn't normally see on something like Tomb of the Spider Queen.
One thing I really like about this battleground, especially for Cal Poly Pomona, is if they do decide to go for that heavy engagement, something like the Genji Abathur, which can theoretically work on this battleground, there's a lot of open space, so the ability and potential to get to the back line, to get to a gold in, I think the chances of that only goes up in this situation, but we've seen a huge shift in strategy from Game 1 to Game 2 for Cal Poly Pomona. Maybe they're going to try to be unpredictable again, and they have something else up their sleeve. You just never know with this team.
In talking about change in strategy, the big deal for me still is the Stukov and how highly prioritized he was between both of these teams, but that both of them have shown that in the amount of time they have had since the round of 8, they have realized that that's a place where they needed to show some improvements in their supporting hero pools. We've also heard from some of the teams that they feel like just this meta in general, now having Deckard Cain come in and have his first win in Heroes of the Dorm, is allowing the support pool to open up, but that we've seen both sides adapt to that, seeing the Rhaegar too from Artificius looks good for these teams.
Yeah, I think the support pool opening up with that Deckard Cain proving himself actually adds so much strategic depth to these drafts, because a lot of the Dorm teams were just completely tunnel visioning Stukov or Malfurion. And now that we've seen that these teams are willing to adapt, they're willing to go past the second ban phase and start looking at other options, we might see even more compositions that get further and further from the norm as you start seeing these unusual supports. Maybe go for more dive compositions with Uther or Alexstrasza. Maybe go for more defensive compositions with that Deckard Cain that worked so well in the last game.
That's a really good point. The depth of the support is definitely opened up with Deckard Cain. Let's start the draft for game number 3. We're going to find out if Buffalo wants to go back to stay a while and listen, or they're going to try to go a different way. Like you said, Gilly, in game 1, Artificius' Rhaegar was amazing to me. Those ancestral healings landed at such critical moments. I would not at all be surprised to see if they go for that support again.
That composition required perfection from those individual players. While Dota Sodas had to play to a T with his Genji, and we knew he could do that, but to see Artificius land so many clutch ancestral heals, that was, to me, the icing on the cake for Cal Poly Pomona. That kind of play could get them to the grand finals.
So this is the first big mix-up in the ban phase that we have seen so far.
Yes.
We see the Hanzo first ban, immediate response ban, and bam, the first pick Medivh that we know these teams are afraid of.
And that's because of that Maiev. I still think it's because of Maiev. Cal Poly Pomona has not shown it. The person that they were playing with it before was the person who is now their sub. I think that that's Buffalo taking advantage of that, taking that risk and being rewarded in this. Now they get Medivh. That's a strong pick.
I was really curious and almost expected to see Medivh show up as the first pick. You have the success with Hanzo to go 1-1 in game 2, and you decide to ban that hero out. what are you going to try to get instead? They go for the Medivh, which is going to cause a hero like Genji a whole host of problems. Anytime he jumps in, protected by the way. He's used to being on the other side of that, but if that shows up at the right time, that hero is not going down, and then they can turn around in a Cyborg Assassin and get the first kill.
I'm a little curious about the Snap Genji reaction. Actually, up against the Medivh, he completely changes the dynamic of diving onto the backline with that Force of Will. He completely denies a lot of that kill pressure, and it feels like Cal Poly Pomona was like, Genji's up, snap pick, and then they're like,
Wait.
what's this second pick? Like, how do we actually beat this backline? And they're going back to the Genji Abathur. This worked in game 1, but the game is just completely different because Buffalo played so well with Medivh in that Epic 8. I mean, Matzo Ball's Medivh play was just fantastic.
I mean, he's been getting banned consistently all afternoon for a reason. We're going to see exactly how capable he is in the hands of Buffalo. I think it's going to be a huge problem. 1 Genji or 2, it doesn't matter. The supports are still open. We still have the Malfurion. We still have the Stukov. We also have the Deckard Cain. We've seen Buffalo. They're more than comfortable with going to the back end of the draft and then going for the Deckard Cain, so they have a lot of flexibility right now.
This next couple of picks for Buffalo should give us an idea of how they want to fit that Medivh into their strategy. Whether it's going to be slowing the roll of the dive for Cal Poly Pomona, maybe using the Polybomb for that, or if they're looking to set something up with a Leyline Seal, they're gonna get their Phoenix. So I believe this will be the first game where we're not seeing Seth Lordson play his Gul'dan now on his Phoenix, and then the Garrosh.
I love the Garrosh pick. I mean, we saw him get used by Buffalo in game 1 to pretty decent effect, but having the Medivh to accent his ability to engage and disengage is going to cause a whole other host of problems for Cal Poly Pomona. Once they pull the trigger, once the ponies go in for that engagement, they really have to mind their P's and Q's because they get thrown around the hard way.
I think the Leyline also sets up fantastic opportunities for Garrosh to get the taunt into the Planet Cracker. We saw in game 1 today of the first match, the Zeratul augmenting the Garrosh and Phoenix ability to find that initiation. Leyline does that even better.
Well, I'm curious to see, maybe they go for the Polybomb. Genji jumps in, he's like, Dragon Blade, wait, I'm a sheep. And then he just gets taken out. Taunt afterwards to follow up. That could be point-click lockdown to really limit the engagement options of Cal Poly Pomona. But you're right, man. They have a whole range of opportunities here with either hero.
Yeah, regardless, there is a lot of different options for Buffalo and how they want to set up with those 3 picks. 3 very good, very meta picks for the start of this draft. We're still seeing a Stukov ban, showing us that Cal Poly Pomona are going to choke down the support pool somewhat with their next 2 picks. What are we thinking for Buffalo's ban here? Could be a tank, could be limited on the backline, considering the fact that we've already seen a Phoenix pickup and a Hanzo ban too. What are you thinking, Dunk?
I'm really feeling a tank ban here, actually. Buffalo has already secured a strong frontline. Garrosh can solo frontline because of the Medivh helping that. They probably won't do that, but it's an option, so they shouldn't feel bad about pinching the tank role. Meanwhile, Cal Poly Pomona, normally I would say Malfurion is what you want to ban here, but he cannot assist on the actual dive attempt, and while normally you don't need the Malfurion to contribute damage on the dive attempt, you only need him to heal the Genji with that regrowth. In this case, I don't think that's going to be enough because of the Medivh.
They seem to agree. They're going to go ahead and take the Warrior ETC off the board. I think that's a very smart decision because they could have been playing a game of chicken. If they ban out the Malfurion, we very well could have seen Deckard Cain get snapped up by Cal Poly Pomona, and then it's a real test to see how deep the support pool is. But I'm also really curious about the Stukov ban. You've seen Deckard Cain. You're 1-1 because of it. You ban out the Stukov. I feel like the choke on the support market, you just have to give that up at that point.
Well, I expect Cal Poly Pomona to go back into Rhaegar. Don't you? Considering they played that Rhaegar Genji Abathur phenomenal in game 1. That's what I think would be a support here. I mean, Uther is still up too if they want a Divine Shield instead of an Ancestral, but Rhaegar lends a lot more to being able to help rotate out. He can also help with cams, help with wave clear.
The problem is the Uther Divine Shield Genji, it used to be an absolute terror across the Nexus everywhere, but after the nerf to Dragon Blade, where it no longer resets your Swift Strike on kills, it's just a lot less effective to cast both those heroics in order to get the first kill. You don't necessarily ping pong and wipe the whole enemy team like you used to.
I like the shift in strategy from Cal Poly Pomona. They're gonna go ahead and help themselves to that double warrior front line that was so successful for Buffalo in the last game. Now you got 2 heroes to select on the side of Buffalo. You have the engage and shenanigans that Medivh brings to the table, the steady, consistent damage from the Phoenix. I think that would be a really strong counter to Uther if that is how Cal Poly Pomona are thinking around that their composition. I agree with you, Gilly. I feel like the Rhaegar is going to be the end pick here for CPP.
Just feels like there is a lot riding on that Genji now, and the double Genji dive. Like they're putting a lot in that. They do have that strong double warrior frontline, but having to add a support to that, the work is cut out for them. But we get a Marky Bots Leoric, and I think once again we'll see the Entomb Planet Cracker combination by, I'm fairly certain, the team that started it in Heroes of the Dorm, which is Buffalo.
I think this is a staple that we've seen show up out of Heroes of the Dorm. The synergy is obvious. When you look on the side of Cal Poly Pomona, they don't have too much mobility. They have the Genji, and then if there's a clone, sure, they can jump over the wall. But Johanna and Blaze, once you box them in with that Entomb, the Planet Cracker is going to get immense value. You're only going to be able to Ancestral heal one of them if you do round it out with Rhaegar. So I think that's a really smart choice for Buffalo.
I think a problem here for Cal Poly Pomona is they've kind of narrowed themselves into just the Genji and the Abathur as damage dealers.
Yep.
In the first game, they had the Phoenix to put extra pressure on the front line and to actually force the split of the backline. In the one team fight they won that was actually the game-winning team fight, the Planet Cracker is what forced Buffalo to basically spread completely so that the Genji could pick apart the pieces that are isolated. In this case, they don't have...
Just kidding!
Now, going into this game, I said Cal Poly Pomona, they kind of remind me of Heroes Hearth because they like that scrappy, unpredictable style of play. It looks like they heard me. They're going to take another note and go for the support Abathur. Just as we're thinking they might have backed themselves into a corner with this composition, they're going to shake things up and say, oh, actually, we took our support in the earlier portion of the draft. Abathur, did you miss it? I'm excited to see how this plays.
So a double reset with a bunker. You jump in, you jump out when you need some healing with dominance, when you have deflect up. What do you think? I have no clue.
This composition is so all in. I don't think we have ever seen a draft that is just so all, they have to get the first kill. They're literally trying to open this with like a spinning heel kick, like to open the fight. That's the only way they win these is they have to snap, get a kill. They have very little support. They have all in front loaded damage. And I think Buffalo's going to be able to tank up and just not give up the first kill. You don't give the resets, and that's that.
I think it's going to be a huge test for Buffalo. Can they keep their wits about them and not try to get caught up in the unorthodox nature of this composition? Anytime we've seen Cal Poly Pomona, we've thought, hey, they like to take things in an unpredictable fashion. They like to live on that high wire. Right now, they're up there without a neck because if this composition falls through, especially in early game, they're going to have a pretty rough go at things. It looks like Gilly got some fans out there.
Oh, they're an awesome team. Based on a bunch of people from my stream. That's super sweet. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm loving Heroes of the Dorm in general. That's what it's all about. Awesome teams, awesome community. Just an awesome event overall. But yeah, it's all in. High risk, high reward for Cal Poly Pomona here.
One thing that I'm really curious, like I was saying, Buffalo's ability to adapt. We've really been impressed with their ability to download the enemy team strategy, but this is going to be one of their biggest tests yet. I'm not even sure if they dealt with the solo support Abathur composition before. Talking to these guys, we got a really good sense of how they like to approach the game, how they like to approach macro. Do you think they're up to the challenge of this composition from Cal Poly Pomona?
I think Buffalo is up to the challenge here. This really feels to me like Cal Poly Pomona has gone deep in the tank here and decided that they need to kind of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Normally, I'm a big fan of that, but in this case, you're playing into the Medivh, and if there's one thing that Medivh has a tendency to shut down, it's all-in burst damage, hard engage compositions. So I'm just concerned that Cal Poly Pomona has made a really interesting and potentially effective draft, except for the fact that this is the one time they've swapped it up and let the Medivh through.
Well, yeah, let's take a look at this whole series as a whole so far, which is Cal Poly Pomona, whenever they picked the map, that was Cursed Hollow. They came in with a game plan. They had the double Genji, and that worked out really well for them. And then this game, they picked the Battleground again. I think they have these game plans, especially for the Battlegrounds they knew they were going to pick. The problem here was that Medivh. That was the change-up, and is that enough? It very well could be.
We're about to find out. Game number 3 is ready. Buffalo taking on Cal Poly Pomona. Let's hear some support for these teams. And Viren Nasaurus, passing it over to you. Have fun, guys.
Woo, we are definitely going to have some fun with this one. A unique composition, to say the least, coming out from CPP, the source. This one is going to be crazy.
I mean, they've clearly planned for this, but no plan ever survives first contact with the enemy. If anything's gonna fall apart, it's this composition, but it could go crazy. Double tank, double Gingo, double reset. Everything's there for an absolute massacre.
Well, let's see if they can pull it off. Let's get into our game here. Cal Poly Pomona taking on Buffalo. Let's see if they can make it happen. The source, this one is gonna be crazy.
All right, over on the left side, we've got the members of Buffalo. It's going to be Fantafiction on Malfurion, Vader on the Garrosh, Seth Lordson on the Phoenix, Marky Bots on Leoric, and Mothballs playing the unkillable God King who's been banned all day, Medivh.
And over on the other side in the red, it is going to be Cal Poly Pomona, the Pomona Ponies. It is going to be Artificious on Blaze, Alcazador on Genji, Josh playing Johanna, Pally on Li Ming, and Luldo DeSotis on Abathur. The support player playing Blaze. This is the world we find ourselves in.
So it's really we are all very self-sustaining with the exception of the damage deal. Like for the front line, Johanna's pretty good at keeping herself alive for the most part. Blaze can heal himself up. So they're kind of relying on that front line to just sort of survive. You've also put Luldo DeSotis onto the Abathur this time to be the clone answer, Alcazador on the Genji. So basically a swap of what we saw the last time they played this combination. And it's just gonna be wild. If they manage to pop off, it'll never stop. But if Buffalo shuts them down once, I mean, the best laid plans, Medivh is the wrecker of all plans.
I was gonna say, if there's one hero who's gonna be able to shut down aggression, it is going to be Medivh. Not only granting vision, not only having those force of wills, denying that damage, the portals, the ability to get in and out of fights at a moment's notice. Medivh is going to be a huge factor in the defense from Buffalo, but I'm also going to be watching Vader. We have to talk about Vader, the Garrosh coming in here as well. Going to be looking to separate the side of Cal Poly Pomona and get those early game picks.
He's also going to be able to dictate how far Pally can step up, because as a Li Ming, yes, you have a blink away, but that is far from the value of the dash coming out from a Genji. So Genji can kind of get in there and do his thing. He's got multiple ways to escape. Pally needs to be careful. If any crowd control comes in there, they will absolutely obliterate them, even with Phoenix being their only main damage.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge factor here moving forward because, of course, we look at these damage sources, where these are coming from. And, of course, both of these teams are going to be trying their darndest to shut down that aggression here. So I'm really looking towards Cal Poly Pomona here to be the ones to set the pace. As our analyst said, they drafted an all-in composition. They need to commit to that. They need to go all in.
Full commit, especially to the dive, but also to the target. You have decent damage between double Genji and Li Ming. You couldn't really ask for more. The question is going to be who's their main target. Phoenix is always a difficult one to get unless you have a bunch of crowd control. You're basically looking right at Fantafiction, and if he goes into Twilight Dream, that'll be difficult. But again, Pally, he can fall if he's not careful.
That was Matzo Balls basically soloing the Li Ming here in the situation, not quite able to find the kill there. Nice peel coming in from Josh to help disengage, but that was so very close. Just goes to show that Matzo Balls, he's like, I'm a damage dealer too, guys, don't worry.
It's also Medivh. Just the shenanigans of Medivh, especially when a hero is banned so consistently, you forget how to deal with them, how much damage they're going to do, how they're going to play back into some of the things that you're going to do, what the counterplay scenarios are going to be. So for now, I want to see Cal Poly Pomona start looking for that opportunity. Dunk Train was saying they needed the first fight, or the first kill. There hasn't really been an opportunity to do that just yet, but the moment they see it, they need to go all in.
The team needs to be there together. When the call is made, they need to commit to that call. They need to make it happen here, because if they survive, or if their opponents survive, if Buffalo is able to endure and weather the storm that is the initiation of Cal Poly Pomona, they have a great time in these fights, because of course they have a main support that's not an Abathur. That's ideal.
What's more valuable, main support or getting globals? So you don't need heals if your entire opposing team is dead.
That's really the play they're going to look for here as Josh is going in, but look at the damage coming from the side of Buffalo as well. Look at that. Artificious is the one cut out. The Abathur had not enough, and now it is El Cazador on the Genji being pushed back. The stun, the follow-up is there. The Abathur hat is not enough to keep them alive, and it is Buffalo with 2 solid kills.
Completely routed from the get-go. Oh, Pally, what are you doing there, friend? He'll be all right, but it's that's a bad look for the side of Cal Poly Pomona. And we can take another look at how this, just that flip into the root, just to guarantee that Artificious can't get away from that. that on its own sets them up to just be completely pushed out of the point. But again, that's the support on a tank. Positioning, being used to that kind of positioning, it's a whole new world for him.
That is exactly what I was going to say. When you put your support main on the tank in the front line, that is a completely different school of thought. Combine that with being on stage playing for your college tuition, and that's not necessarily the most comfortable position to be in. As we see 75% and rising here for the side of Buffalo, they are pushing in onto the point. Looking to channel out, get this Trigger Lab Protector going here in the early game. Cal Poly Pomona needs to stymie this initial attempt here. They need to get some kills. They need to fight, but they can't seem to find it here. It is Marquee Boss getting kind of low. They're going to look to engage. They are finding the garage. Vader is the target, but the heals are going to come through as well. There's Azkal Zadar. But the objective status is going to be keeping him alive. Not quite able to find the takedowns they are looking for, and they're forcing back the side of Buffalo.
They managed to get control on that one, but it's going to be a quick tap and a reset for Buffalo. There's not going to be a whole lot of time for the side of Cal Poly Pomona to deal with this, and they're not at 10. They don't have the double Genji. There is no clone. That Ultimate Evolution isn't there for them to find an opportunity. Good flip into the knockup. Vader is putting so much pressure just onto Josh alone that, I mean, really, just onto the front line. Artificious and Josh haven't been able to do all that much. First Trigger Lab Protector goes to Buffalo, and they're going to start to paint the map with.
This is really what they're going to look to do here. Get this initial structural damage, get themselves towards level 10. This is going to be huge here from them. If they can continue to further this lead, Cal Poly Pomona, this is really a squad that they don't want to get too far behind. Obviously, the early game with Abathur, we've talked about this time and time again. But really, what it comes down to is Buffalo keeping in control here. If they don't get flustered from what Cal Poly Pomona is putting together, that is when this team will succeed.
They also have to get to 10, and then they have to find that pick that Dunk was looking for. The first kills went to Buffalo, so in Dunk Train's but got done game, we can go right into the next game's draft. But Cal Poly Pomona are going to want to look to go one more try on it. I'm feeling what Dunk Train was putting down. If the opportunity doesn't present itself soon, I don't know where Cal Poly Pomona find themselves back into the game, and Genji gets rooted.
Li Ming, don't stand on that. That is not ideal. That is Buffalo getting a clutch kill here, using the power of this objective to not only get these structures, but get these crucial takedowns as well. Level 10, the heroics being reached, and the team utilizing the Medivh to just get themselves right on out of there. That was exactly what they were looking for here. And they're going to take this forward to boot. They're looking solid here in game number 3.
I forgot there was a Medivh in the game. We haven't even seen any portal shenanigans. Like, we're not even at the point where Medivh is starting to just become the truest nuisance. It's going to be Scan. We've got Leyline Seal. So there's a lot of setup for combos, just not that nice Planet Cracker setup. And now it's going to come down to, does Cal Poly Pomona find the fight they're looking for when they're already starting to fall pretty far behind?
Well, they finally have the heroics. This is their time to shine. We saw it in game number 1. A little bit behind in the early game, but once they were able to get that double Genji up and running, this is when the team looked solid here. And of course, the scouting is coming in with the mine. They're going to know this is happening. Vader, though, being a job healing for the team. They're going to try and get this. The Blessed Shield's going the follow from Josh. They're trying to find
the Leyline steal!
But a beautiful counter initiation coming in there as well, and that is able to save the Phoenix. The bunker's going down. The Great Entomb. Vader is sitting so far, and it is Phoenix finally going to drop the Reset City coming in as well. Hearing that critical mass going off time and time again. That was what they needed. Cal Poly Pomona finding their fight.
You cannot cage this team. They are a Mustang. They are a wild horse. You can't keep them down, and they managed to get a setup despite an amazing Leyline Seal that I would have thought would have gotten Buffalo out of there. They should have just disengaged.
They don't have the Planet Cracker. They didn't have their ability to split the fight like they normally do. Trying to step back up, getting off the barrage was the death of Phoenix in that situation, and I think that might have been a problem there because that was a 4-man Entomb. That was the moment.
That would have been a perfect Planet Cracker opportunity. Now, there are other things you can do off of that kind of play, but you've gone with Tranquility. You don't have Twilight Dream. A Twilight Dream would have shut them down off of a play like that. You had the taunt, you had everything working for you, but not enough Wombo combo, which means we need to see Buffalo. They've now proven to themselves, okay, we can find the setup, but we need to be careful about the team fight because the reset damage was there.
Oh, it was there indeed. The Li Ming came out, and we were all so surprised. We expected a traditional support, but Li Ming, the pick here from Cal Poly Pomona, proving its worth here. Almost dead even in experience at this stage of the game. No major structure advantage for either side here. This is anyone's game at this stage in game number 3. What an even series.
especially after what we saw out of Buffalo, how much control they had the last game. It seems as if you put Waldo de Sotis and El Cazador onto playmaking heroes, anything where they can, they have the space to move around, they have the ability to get in their opponent's face, they will find opportunity. Because last game we saw El Cazador or Waldo de Sotis onto a Junkrat. It didn't do that much.
It didn't do that much indeed. It really did end up getting shut down there. Game number 1 was really where we saw Cal Poly Pomona shine. And now they're going to look to fight here once more. The heroics are up there online for both these teams. Which one is going to come out on top, fighting over this objective here? They're going in nice garage damage. The root is there as well, but El Cazador able to escape in this instant. As we still, of course, have all the while the Abathur getting the split push value across the map here. So Buffalo needs to look to fight. 22%. There is still going to be a lot of percentage needed to be captured here for both of these teams, but the poke coming out from Cal Poly is doing its work.
It's going to be a long time before this objective is finished out, but that's even better for Cal Poly Pomona. The longer the objective stall goes, the more value their Abathur is going to get. We start to see Marky Bots. He's looking for an angle. Poly's at half health. This is dangerous. He starts to take some damage. Leyline Seal goes in, and here's the setup.
There's the taunt as well, and the Tranquility. They're trying to split the team as best they can. The damage coming in from Phoenix, but a lot of it's getting reflected. But there's the Entomb, the follow-up, the stun as well. We do have Waldo de Sotis in the back with that clone as the Genji, and we do have the Leoric dropping the bunker value coming in here for Cal Poly Pomona. They're able to isolate, identify the targets, despite the fact they don't have a main healer. They are still looking so solid here, and Buffalo just looking confused.
You don't need heals if your opponent doesn't have any damage. There isn't enough high damage output coming out from Buffalo to the point where Pally survived at incredibly low health. You had El Cazador not fearing anything that was coming out from the side of Buffalo, and they were just slowly burn down Marky Bots. And again, the longer this goes, the better it is for Cal Poly Pomona. Yes, you're going to have to wait for the clone to come back up, but they can stall this out again. They're at 75%. They don't even need to fight.
But they are going to look to fight because Buffalo is taking it to them. Artificious trying to escape. No, the body box invader coming with the portal. Nice, then the taunt is in the follow-up, and that is going to be the throw, the stun, and look at the damage coming in. Josh surviving somehow. No! Put him against the wall, up against the boards, and that is going to be Buffalo with a clean 2 kills here. And this looks like looks like the advantage they need to get this objective.
Is it though? Pretty short cooldowns. Johanna could show back up. It takes a while for them to do this to the point where Cal Poly Pomona is a crazy enough team that they might go back and try and fight that one more time. There's legitimately enough time for Johanna to get there. I don't think they do. I think they'll spread back out to try and soak up more onto the map. They're taking camps, and they almost got away with it. Again, if this is like in game 1, where if they were so close to getting away and then getting value on the Abathur soak and just getting like, we stalled you, and then find the value, they continue to get caught. But I mean, last time they won it with a team fight, they seem to be feeling confident.
Kind of surprised speaking of the Abathur, we didn't get more value coming out of this. Still dead even in experience, despite how long the stall went on there. I was really expecting more coming out from Cal Poly Pomona there. Obviously the Abathur was pretty busy throughout all of that, kind of needed in these fights. But of course, not quite able to get the split soak, the split push we were anticipating here. So it is still not a level 16 advantage that Cal Poly Pomona was hoping for. And now we have a Trickle Out Protector pushing in onto the keep. The source is to be huge because level 16 is right around the corner for Buffalo.
Yeah, the timing on this is rough. Not getting the 16 with the Abathur is partially because he's not doing that much body soaking, because he has to spend so much time paying attention to the team and using his hat in those fights because he is the main healer. He is all of their support, or what support an Abathur can really bring. So that's kind of stopped Abathur. Like, he's been sitting underneath that bottom 4 the entire time, and the wave has been pushed. So he's keeping the wave pushed, but it's not allowing him to get the normal body soak we're used to. So some global value, but not as much as it should be.
Not as much as it should be here. We're getting a couple forts, some key pressure coming in from Buffalo, but really not looking to overcommit and overstep. Level 16 has finally been reached now for the side of Cal Poly Pomona, but it is the slow burn coming in from Buffalo right now as they are getting so much value with this map objective.
Yeah, this has been full value Trickle Out Protector. And